Okay, hey, let's hear it. You know what? Let's hear it. Here in the sports barn, Eric Arnold Sports Barn, we laid off Thursday just because it was a light card. But we had a big night Wednesday, plus 5 units, taking us out of negative territory, putting us plus 3 units for the year. I think that's pretty good. I'm pretty proud of that, frankly, considering I'm coming off a 3-year layoff. So we're starting to see the fastball again. We're starting to get our groove. 3 years ago, I won a lot of money betting on baseball, and I documented it here on YouTube. So if you ever want to dig up some of them old videos and see if I'm full of shit or not, you can go ahead and do it. But we're starting to get it again. Why are you making these videos? Why don't you just bet the games? Well, these, as I've said again and again, but it's a small audience, so if you could just be tuning in other words, you're not part of the hardcore 6 that watch these videos, you might be new. Handicapping's a routine. I'm certain of that. And I'm an old man, so I've learned some things. To bet winners, to pick winners, you have to have some kind of routine. You have to stick with it. You can't just look at it on Monday, set it aside, and not look at it again until Saturday. You gotta, every day, you gotta stay with it. So these videos help me do that, and I think the results are starting to show. We're feeling better about ourselves. So Friday, where are we at? Let's go. We're in the morning now, finally. You're going to actually have a few hours to digest this video. This video may have upwards of 15 people watch it. Now, that's pretty ambitious, but let's see what happens. I don't like these opening day of a series days, if you will. The Monday, Tuesday, Friday, where it's the first day of a series, I've found my results are, they're not the best. So there's my standard disclaimer there. Friday, I kind of hope to break even, and then expect to do business on Saturday and Sunday. Fair warning. All right, Braves, Reds. I think you just simply have to lay the wood here and fade Chris Paddock for the Reds. I don't even know this guy is meant to win. Chris Paddock was pitching for the Marlins earlier this year. I think this was a guy that came out of the San Diego system. He was supposed to be, one of these next great pitchers. San Diego had a whole bunch of them back then. I think Mackenzie Gore was one of them. And he just never developed. He just had arm trouble. I think he had surgery. He's knocked around. He's been with Minnesota. He was with Miami. They cut him. When Miami cuts you, you really suck. I think he's lost something like 8-9 straight decisions now. Ricky Vitalico, mean old Ricky is. He's a guy in the Philadelphia market here. Relief pitcher in the 90s, and now he's on the radio and the TV here in Philly. And Ricky's he's one of the people I think that's not happy unless he's not happy. But he just said this guy sucks. And I don't know he's wrong. It's like, oh wow, that's kind of harsh, but I'm all right with that. Call it like you see it. He does suck. He's just not good. So why would the Reds pick him up? Well, here's my thinking. They didn't pick him up because they expect him to win. They're the Reds. I mean, they don't have some magic pitching coach that's like, oh, we see what you're doing wrong, Chris Paddock. All you have to do is just, put your foot down here and twist like this, and suddenly your command will be so much better, and wow, you're the next Tom Seaver. No, they're just using this guy as a stopgap. They have to get some innings out of their starters. They've got so many injuries, they don't have anyone to fill this role, and he's just bridging the gap until they get some of these injured guys like Hunter Green back. So he goes out there and he takes a shelling, which they expect. You know, they can't just throw bullpen games every time this fifth slot comes around because A, the bullpen's not that good, and B, they'll burn those guys out too, and then they won't have any bullpen at all. They'll all be injured by the time they get to August and September, or more importantly, October, if, you know, they actually expect to be in the playoffs again like they were last year. So Paddock goes out there and he takes his aforementioned shelling, and he did his job. You know, that's his job. He's the Washington Nationals. His job is to go out there and get his ass kicked every night. And we think he's going to do his job in spades tonight. Take the Braves. Jared Jones coming back tonight for the Pirates. We like fading these guys. I mean, why are they 138 over the Twins? That makes no sense to me. None. You know, the Twins pitcher, he's pitched okay. Taj Bradley. Jared Jones, he was one of the Pirates, you know, up-and-coming youngsters who was striking out lots of guys and had good peripheral numbers and very exciting. And then, of course, he blew his elbow out because, you know, all these guys throw 98 miles an hour every pitch, and what do you think's going to happen? The same thing's going to happen to Paul Skeens sooner rather than later. He's going to blow his arm out. So, and Jacob Mizorowski will blow his arm out. It's almost, you know, it's nature. There's only a few freaks in nature like Nolan Ryan that can go their whole career and throw that hard and not blow their arm out. But anyway, he's going to be short. You know, they always baby these guys, and he won't be, you know, he's not coming back throwing 75-80% so he can get deeper into the game. He'll max out. You know, max effort, but he hasn't pitched in 18 months. So 4 innings, 5 innings, then you're into the, you're almost certainly going to have an inning or two with a not too good reliever that you're going to have to bridge over. So all that saying here, take Minnesota. Oh, okay, what's this? I don't remember what we did here. We got the check mark next to the Padres. I'm not sure why. I think simply because they're plus and feels like maybe a spot for them to get well. Yeah, they just played a team they don't play well against, so they don't look like they're very good right now. But you know, that happens. I mean, there's certain teams you just don't play well against. No matter what. It's like we reserve our worst games when we play those guys. And that just happens. So they're not playing those guys anymore. So suddenly now, you know, the ball looks bigger. The spin is more viewable. You can see it more. So, yeah, we think the Padres here. Washington, they're starting to feel good about themselves, I think. And they're throwing 2, like, back into the bullpen guys to basically, you know, they'll throw the opener, he'll pitch an inning, 2 if he's lucky. Then they'll have another back into the bullpen guy. He'll pitch 2 or 3 innings. Sometimes I like those games, but, yeah, nah, I'm going to pass on this one. Toronto, Baltimore. Toronto is as I speak. I could not see who pitching for them tonight, but I know who's not pitching, and or who is pitching for Baltimore, and that's Trevor Rogers. And right now he's just automatic fade. He's a no-fly zone. Certain guys right now are, Aaron Nola finally got a W in San Diego, and we got that one, if you can believe that. But until a starter shows that he's got an ability not to just get destroyed every time out, right now Trevor Rogers is that guy. He's just getting his head kicked in every time out. I see no reason, especially at that price, I'm going to lay money with this guy? Hell no. We'll take the Blue Jays. This one I don't know why we would do anything other than pick the best team. The price is not hateful. Boston is not throwing a great pitcher. It's going to be opener and then Brian Bello. And I had Bello on my fantasy team, and his numbers are horrific. But they'll try to suck you in saying, he's pitched so much better as a bulk reliever. That's what they need to do. They just need to throw him as a bulk reliever and he'll be an ace. And I'm not sure I buy that. Because, it wasn't like he was just getting destroyed in the first inning and then he threw clean after that. He's getting beaten up in every inning. Just because he's had a few good outings, I'm just not buying it yet. Cleveland's just better. They're better. That team is good. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh yeah, good. I like the new second baseman, that Vanzana. He's a player. Obviously Ramirez, he's the key. He's the core of that team, and he's really good. It's just a good team. And Boston, I can't say the same. Cleveland. We'll take Max Meyer here. We're getting plus money with the guy. The Mets suck. Why am I laying money with the Mets? I just, show me Mets, and they haven't lately. So, we're going to take a crack here with big money with the Angels. I know, I say the Angels suck, and they do. But they've won two of their last two. Their last two series. They, I believe, swept Texas, and then they took 2 out of 3, was it, in Detroit? This could be a live dog situation at big money. Walbert Arena is pitching for the Angels tonight. He's a young pitcher who has thrown pretty well. Tampa, who are they throwing? Nick Martinez. Well, that's not one of their best pitchers. So I kind of think I don't like playing against Tampa in their home stadium because those guys really play well down there. But this is such a good spot for the Angels that we're going to go ahead and try it. Cubs Cardinals. What did we do here? How did we come down on this one? That number just feels so stupid, so wrong. You got two teams that basically have the same record, and one is favored the Cubs are just, the Cubs have just lost 10 straight games. Now, they won the last 2 in Chicago, or in Pittsburgh, and may have actually remembered how to hit the ball. I think this is going to fall into the Rich Kaufman theory, where when the line is that far out of whack, that somebody knows something, and we're just going to ride with the Cubs. Detroit versus the White Sox. This is another number that looks so stupid out of line that somebody's got to know something. Why are the Tigers favored on the road over anybody? Their pitcher appears to be superior to the White Sox pitcher. Eric Fetty is, he's bottom of the barrel. He's going for the White Sox. But the White Sox have just been better. I mean, they score like, nobody's business. They score, they hit the ball, they've got one of the most dangerous, powerful, productive hitters outside of Aaron Judge in Murakami. The guy hits second. He's going to lead the league in home runs, probably. I think I don't know who's close to him right now, but he's got upwards of 20. The dude's on pace to have 40, 50 home runs. The Tigers have nobody like that. Nobody. I just think the White Sox have been so good at home, and you're getting plus money against a bad team. I'm going to say somehow they get to old poor Troy Melton and go ahead there with the White Sox. We're going to go here with Texas. The Royals don't play. The Royals have just been down all year long. Anyone not named Witt has just been invisible for that team. And, we don't like teams that have only one guy on them. Milwaukee, why not? That feels like you're getting one of the best teams in the National League at a not too hateful price. Houston, they've played better as of late, but we still aren't that, impressed by them. And it's like, wow, I can get Milwaukee at that kind of a price. And remember now, one of Milwaukee's key cogs, if you will, is back in the lineup in Christian Yelich. That guy produces. He's that guy that you just say, who is that guy and why? Is he really any good? He produces. That dude hits. If he didn't have the injuries that he's had, that dude would be, pushing Hall of Fame numbers. But he's had an injury-riddled career. He's kind of like Byron Buxton in that way, in that when they're out there, they're factors. Same deal here over there. Buxton had been in and out of the lineup, and Minnesota was kind of spinning their wheels. Buxton's back in the lineup, and he's very credible as far as a threat. Yelich, same way. Giants, Rockies. This is like, to me, this is a get-out-of-town match. Loser gets out of town. Both teams at the bottom of the standings in the National League. You better start winning some games because now we're heading into the backstretch, and you better start picking it up, as you may. And no, if you remember, what was the name of the damn horse? Whoever won the Derby this year, and name escapes me. Golden Earring? No, something like that. It was, the girl trained the horse, and I can't remember the name of the horse because it didn't run into Preakness, and now no one cares anymore. But the horse was dead last, but it started to pick it up in the backstretch. So if you're going to run dead last and you're going to win, you need to start picking it up now. This is when you got to start picking up some wins. Both these teams have been terrible. So to me, who's going to come out of this get-out-of-town match? Well, I don't think there's any question. San Francisco is a better team. They're going to win this series this weekend, and they're going to win the get-out-of-town match. That's what we're going to say. Why would we not go with the Yankees here? Oh boy, I don't know. This is one I might change as I'm staring at it. Yeah, I'm going to change it. I am going to change it. I'm going to answer my own question right now. Why would you go against the Yankees? I'll tell you why. Because you don't want to lay that kind of money on Carlos Rodon until he shows he can start winning some games. He's been 0 for 3 this year since he came off the IL. And I don't like that. If I had to lay, like, if it was like even money, be like, okay, maybe the Yankees will just outscore them. But I'm laying almost $1.50 on a guy who's 0 for 3. Yeah. We're going to to take the underdog, and that one could go either way, but that's how we're playing that. Seattle, they're just Are they even 500? I don't even know. I think they might be a game below 500. Arizona probably has a similar record, except they played much better competition in the National League. For whatever reason, it seems like the National League this year just has better teams than the American League. And San Diego was up there in Seattle, 2-3 weeks ago? And they handled them. I mean, it took 2 out of 3. Maybe it was a sweep. I don't even remember. But I know they took at least 2 out of 3. And to me, Arizona is a similar team to San Diego. That's tasty money to me. I like the plus 133. Okay, last game. Zach Wheeler versus Justin Robleski. Gosh, I guess you could look at this a couple ways. You're laying hardly anything with the 2-time defending world champions. But Zach Wheeler's been lights out as far as pitching goes. He's just been, 6 innings, shutout. Whatever they did to him, they were saying that he should come back and be, like he was. And he is. This dude has bounced off that injury so well. And it kind of, as a Philly fan, makes you go, gee, what if, if this guy had been healthy last year in the playoffs, maybe we would have beaten the Dodgers. So maybe that's where, this is a redemption game where Wheeler, missed the playoffs and, we lost, of course. And he wants to redeem himself and show, I'm still good. I can beat you. Phillies play okay in Chavez Ravine. They always have. Last year in the playoffs, plus money. They won game 3 out there before, losing game 4 as O'Ryan Kirkering threw the ball to the backstop inexplicably. But we like Wheeler there tonight. Okay, if I had to say, where do we really like here? Minnesota, definitely like that. Like the Angels, I like the Phillies. Yeah, the rest of, the model, like I said, the model doesn't have a lot for you on Friday nights sometimes. So we're kind of hunching it on a lot of these games. But lately my hunches have been dialed in. So, think about it, we're above 500. We're picking every game. And somehow we have come above 500. It speaks for itself, speaks for itself. So, hey, let's have a good round today. And by that I mean, let me get some good golf in. I'm going to the course right now. And let's have a good round of betting. We'll be back at some point Saturday morning, I believe, unless life gets in the way. I don't think it's going to, but I don't know. I hope to get a video up for you before the games kick off tomorrow. Let's do it!